everyone. Welcome back to the Katie Lance podcast. I am so excited. We have an awesome interview here set up for you today. I'm so thrilled to be welcoming my dear friend, David Greenspan, in the house. He is a sales coach, a consultant, a marketing strategist, a keynote speaker, a podcast. He's awesome. And we are going to have a great conversation today. So welcome, David.
Katie, it is a pleasure to be here. I feel like I'm in I'm with a legend right now. This is wicked. I'm super pumped. I thank you for inviting me to be on, and for everybody that's tuned in, thank you for joining us. This is going to be a great episode, so buckle up.
Absolutely. I'm excited to chat with you. I know you've been in this industry a long time. And, a lot of the focus that we talk about in our podcast is, of course, marketing and social media. And I'm excited to dive into some of the things that you're seeing. But before we get into that, I would love for you to share a little bit about your background, like who you are for people who don't know you. I can't imagine anyone who doesn't know you, but if people don't know you, share us a little bit about who you are and maybe how you got to where you are today.
For those of you that don't know me, I spend my time helping other people. And I know that sounds like totally high level. And somebody be like, oh, okay, everybody wants to help. But the reality is, what my journey has brought me to is that thing of getting up every single day and going, how can I help more people? We coach professionals on a regular basis. So we coach and consult for agents and sales professionals and career sales forces and small businesses. And so we help people really grow their business. And our whole MO is to really help your clients, your customers think of you first when they think about what you do for a living. And so the more mind share we build, the more market share we get. And so again, breaking it down, and I mean, this is a very high level explanation, but the idea is to help other people, get thought of first so that they can grow their business and their bottom line. Now, with that comes the challenges of everyday life. And so we're not just focused on marketing and business systems, but this is very much about how do we help other people really get to that point that they want to get to with what we might call that work-life balance, right? Because it's very real. It's so much easier to say than it is to do. When you've got the right systems and you build out that machine, you can achieve incredible things. And so from a professional perspective, we get to help a lot of people on a regular basis. Now, that's the business side of the world. I own Mindshare 101 Incorporated, which is a coaching consulting company. I own Kits Keep in Touch Systems, which is a marketing company. We started Kits about 17 years ago. I'd gotten licensed in real estate. I'd started this marketing company off the heels of doing some stuff on like major levels with Fortune 500s. And we found this kind of mousetrap that we thought, hey, this might be neat for the real estate industry. Brought it out, and it just like wildfire just went off. And we're so grateful. We're so humbled by it. What was really wild was within a year of launching, with the growth we were achieving, this dude named Mark Zuckerberg comes along with this little thing called Facebook. And we're like, what the? And all of a sudden you're battling an entire new world of technology, an entire new world of marketing. So that set us off on, different paths of how do you combat that and how do you really go against, because nobody knew much about this stuff at that time.
Right.
I'm proud to say 17 years later, we've got, Kits has won 2 international awards for best of the best when it comes to promotional marketing. So very humbled by that. Much the same, though, very grateful for the team that we've got, because it always takes a team. Like, without the team at Kits, without the team at Mindshare, I'm just a dude wearing a hat who likes to help people, but we've been grateful and fortunate in that regard. And then, on sort of the outside of the business side of things, as because I know you guys are very much baseball fans. We are a baseball family. I coach a AA rep baseball team for my son, who's 11, going to be 12. I also coach AA hockey. So between coaching hockey, coaching baseball, coaching professionals, we have a lot of fun every day. And that's kind of like, in a nutshell what we do, but like to be very raw, very real, very down to earth with people. I find a lot of fun in saying the things that a lot of people won't say about bringing realities to things. And I think it's important, though, to dissect that so that at least people come away and go, I'm not just going to listen at one side, but there's, different sides of things. And as long as people can really percolate what that is, they can break it down in their minds and go, does that fit for me or does it not? So again, we find a lot of fun in being able to do that every day. Coaching people, helping people, keynote speaking, which is where you and I have met many times before.
Yeah.
And then, hey, being on podcasts, which I'm excited to be here with you today.
I know. I feel like in many ways we lead very parallel lives between family and business and marketing, and just, I feel like our lives are very parallel.
I just don't go to Disney World as much.
That's true. That's true. It's all right.
Disneyland,
It's all right.
Disneyland.
So you mentioned a word that I know is very near and dear to you, the word mindshare, which is probably one of the things that really stuck out to me when I first started following you on Instagram and social media is how, this is just, I mean, obviously it's the name of one of your companies. It's so ingrained into who you are. Can you talk a little bit about that? Like people who may not be familiar with this term mindshare, what is it? What
Yeah,
it's all about? How does that
for
affect real
sure.
estate?
You know what? I think one of the best ways to explain this would be, and I know you've seen me do this before, but I'm going to do this with you right now, just for the sake of explaining it to other people, because it's important to understand what the depths of it is. So very quickly on that, like if I said running shoes, what's the first name you think of?
Nike.
That's mindshare. If I said soda pop, what do you think of?
Coca-Cola.
Mindshare. If I
Yeah.
said fast food, what do you think of?
McDonald's.
Okay, that's mindshare. Now, I'm willing to bet that everybody tuned in probably just thought of the same three companies. And if anybody said, Pepsi or Adidas or A&W, there's always one of you in the room.
Right.
But the reality is, like most people will think of those three companies first.
Mhm.
And they've built mindshare. They are constantly marketing to us. They're constantly delivering a message to us. And I mean, when we get into like the real, what is their message? We know Coca-Cola is about enjoying life, and Nike's about like being the best version of yourself, and McDonald's is about happy and not just happy meals, but there's a deeper message to what they're putting out there, and they've leveraged that through a multitude of different channels. And what ends up happening is they will put themselves in the right place at the right time, even though they never really know when that is. So when
Yeah.
somebody thinks of running shoes, the minute Nike comes to mind, which again, it does for most people, they've done a great job with their marketing. Now, when we think of somebody who really understands the social media landscape in our industry specifically, Katie, you come to mind all the time, right? You've got the mind share for that,
You.
right? Getting social smart. Like you've got the mind share on that. And you've done an amazing job across North America, and I'm sure much wider than that, about building that. One thing we know is it doesn't come from just waking up in the morning and go, yeah, this is what I want to do. It is about effort. It is about a plan. It is about a strategy. So the overall of it is mindshare is a top of mind, intuitive, instinctive reaction to a product or service. Again, getting people to think of you first when they think about what you do for a living.
Well, I love that because I often will say, to agents and brokers, this idea of like standing out, right? You stand out in a sea of sameness. And, that kind of came to mind when you're talking about the whole idea of mind share is just how do you stand out? And I would imagine, maybe the cynical person who's watching this going, well, of course McDonald's has mind share. Look at how much money they're spending. Or of course Nike does. And I think the great news is you don't have to have billions of dollars, right, to have mind share. So maybe you can kind of talk a little bit about that because there is a sea of sameness in real estate marketing. So how can agents start to develop that mind share?
I love the question. I love what you brought up because you're right. A lot of people say the same thing. Yeah, but I just don't have the dollars they have. And I think it's really important for everybody to understand that, everybody's in a different situation. Everybody's got different objectives. We have different, access to funds in terms of what we're going to spend. That said, there's really, when we break it all down, we've only got two audiences. We got the people we know, and we've got the people we don't know. And the first thing that, again, as everybody's tuned in, kind of listening to this, what I want you to do right now is I want you to think to yourself, where do I get most of my business from? Is it people I know or people I don't know? And I'm going to go out on a limb here and say that 70 to 90% of it probably comes from people you know. And we're going to see your contact list. And that could be referral business. That could be direct business from people you know. The idea, though, is that, again, they're people we know. And I'm going to say to everybody, if you haven't got a contact list, like before you brush your teeth tonight, like go build yourself a contact list and put everybody on there. And I'm talking complete contact information. First names, last names, mailing addresses, email addresses, find them on social media, figure if they like baseball, hockey, whatever their pastimes are, golf, Disneyland, figure these things out. Because the more you know, once you understand who your audiences are, people you know and people you don't know, and I'd say that again, people you know, group one is your most important. Now what we want to do is we want to leverage all 7 ways to communicate with people to go in and build mindshare. So now what we've just done is we said, you're not trying to talk to hundreds of millions of people. You're trying to talk to your people, right? That list should be somewhere between 700 to 900 of those people. somewhere between there. Even if you're in the 200 to 700 range, when you're in that kind of range, you've got a really good group of people that you can be in touch with. Now, again, as long as you're focused on just them and you're building mindshare with them across all these different channels, now you got that opportunity to earn more market share, right? So we think about leveraging the phone. We think about leveraging text messages. We think about getting together with people in person, sending some mail, sending email, doing the social media, leveraging our website. Outside of that, there's not a lot of different ways to communicate with other people. So again, now we figured out who they are. We know that there's 7 ways. The next thing we have to do is we got to break down what is our budget. How much money can you actually afford to spend? And we've got this whole way that we do that with people, which is really not all that scientific. It's very much more about the gut check. And no, but like Katie, I say that seriously because like a lot of people think, oh, I got to do, all these income statements and everything else. And yes, we do want to look at your income. We do want to look at your expenses. And once we understand those things, we can do a little gut check and say, how much can you really afford to spend? Because I mean, here, how many times have you spoken to people that are like, I'm spending $2,000 or $3,000 a month on marketing. Then you do a budget. They're like, yeah, I can afford $700. And you're like, why are you spending all that money then?
Right.
They think they need to do it. They want to try it to see if it works. The issue with trying to see if it works is that if it doesn't work as fast as they want it to, they got to pull out.
Mm-hmm.
And now, well, we know that it's a long game no matter how you slice it, right? So I mean, really, when it comes back to that notion of, yeah, McDonald's, Coke, whoever can do that. Listen, I'm telling everybody right now, so can you. It's just a matter of figuring out what is your budget, understanding who is your audience, and then how can I leverage all 7 ways within the money I have to be able to grow. And look, remember something, as we grow, we can increase.
Right.
We don't need to start up at the top of, at the top and trying to, keep up with the Joneses or do those things just because other people are doing it. You don't need to do that.
Yeah. You just start with where you're at.
How many times have you and I spoken about social media? Okay. And the fact that both you and I agree that the best way to do social is to be organic, be real, right? Engage with people.
Absolutely.
Like I've got a client, I've got a potential coaching client right now who's really weighing how we're going to help him with social media. Right. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And the question becomes like, what kind of help are you looking for? And we were very straight in saying, if you're looking for somebody who's going to tell you how to spend money on social and just get you to hire somebody, we're not the right people for you. If you're looking for a strategy on how you're going to come up with content, what kind of frequency, and how you're going to go out there and the things you need to be doing on a daily basis, right? Then we can help you. And you and I, again, would agree that that's the best way to go about social media. Be real with people, be who you are, connect with your people, build those relationships.
Absolutely. And I love that you talk a lot about too, the power of taking the online offline, right? So obviously social media is important and putting out relevant content and doing things in your voice. But I mean, every year you send me, and people might laugh, but you send me like the best calendar every year that I absolutely love. And I love it because it's personalized, right? Like, me from social media. And so to your point of like keeping track of, what do people like to do? What's their family all about? Like I just know from knowing you, you're very intentional about that. And so talk a little bit about that whole idea of like taking the online offline, because I think that's a huge opportunity for people.
Yeah, and I would agree with you on that. Like, and I think that people miss that. It's funny because I put that out, and I know I talk about that a lot, but I put that out somewhere the other day. I think to my Mindshare Masters, like our VIP community, and it was along the lines of like, handwritten notes are incredibly powerful.
Mm.
And now you start to go, well, why would I write the handwritten note? And it's like, look, when you put pen to paper, people, when they receive it, they get those warm fuzzies because you don't get a lot of that anymore.
Yeah.
So now you look and say, okay, well, if I was to wish a happy holidays by, let's say, a social media post, when you're scrolling or anybody else is scrolling, you might click like, you might wish me one back, but you know that it's to a mass audience, right? And I know you're a master of teaching, like, regardless of, personalize that post either way you can, like talk to the person as opposed to the masses, right? The thing being though, we know regardless of, like, it's gone out to the masses. Whereas when I take that same message, I could even use the exact same picture and I put a little handwritten note on it and I mail it to you, you know that's not for the masses, that's just you.
Yeah.
And so being intentional around relationships, understanding that, our email blasts, our social media posts, they're big, wide messages. Getting together with one person for coffee, lunch, dinner, whatever is not masses. That's one person. That one phone call you make to that one individual is one person. That text message is one person. All of these little things go, I'm warmer with that other person. We've got a stronger relationship now because we can have these other conversations. Again, knowing I like baseball, you like baseball.
Right.
These are little things, and you and I have had sidebar conversations about how's training going or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Right.
there's a commonality there.
Right.
And so what people need to do is when you're looking at, your social medias and you're scrolling, you find something that somebody else has an interest in. And again, I'll leverage baseball for a second. I see your baseball post. Not only will I click like I'll ask you a specific question sometimes about that. And then you might ask me something back and realize I also like baseball. And so now again, we're having that. And that's where we're being very intentional in the one-to-one.
Right.
Now, that might have gone from a generic post into a DM.
Mm-hmm.
It's the DM that can then create the next level of like, hey, what's your number? What's your best email? Whatever. And we can start to expand on that. Another example, and this is one that I ask people all the time, like anybody who's got a dog, do you walk your dog? And people look at you like, yeah, man, I walk my dog. You're like, okay, good. That's a right answer. But where I'm going with that is, do you go to the park? I do. Is it a dog park? It is. Or maybe it's not a dog park, but there's like a lot of other dogs there. Perfect. Does your dog happen to play with the other dogs? Yeah. Do you talk to the other owner? Well, sometimes. There's the moment. Go have the conversations in person, because if the person has, especially if you're in the real estate business and you know that this person happens to have a roof over their head,
Mm-hmm.
there's somebody you should be talking to, right? So
Yeah.
go start a relationship. The next thing I'm going to suggest to people, and because now we're going offline to online per se, the next thing I suggest is, have you looked up on, let's just use Facebook as an example, to see if there's a group for that local dog park or community? And oftentimes when I ask that, most people don't look into that. I know there's people that do, and I mean, wicked, I'm so happy you do it. For the people that aren't and that are tuned in and going, yeah, I have a dog, I'm saying it to you, like, go look if there's a group. Check this. Now, if there's not a group, go start the group, be the admin of the group, feed the group with content, not just about your dog Sparky and you, talking about like the park and the community and whatever. Then when you get there, and encourage people to post pictures of their dog. Then when you get to the dog park and you happen to recognize the dog and or the owner, maybe you can have the conversation about the group. Or if you recognize that like you've never seen these people before, ask them if they're part of the group. Now, all of a sudden, if they're like, no, I'm not part of the group, great, let me send you an invite. What's your name, right? Is this you? Yeah, that's me. Perfect. And I send you the invite. What did I just do? I just took it from offline to online, and you can completely reverse engineer that whole thing, going
That's a
from
great tip.
online to offline,
It's
right?
a great
And
tip, and you do it in a way that's helpful, right? You're not, because there's a way it could come across as like that's a little creepy, right? But you're
yeah,
doing it
oh, totally.
in
Yeah,
a
yeah. You got to be
way,
careful of that, right? Like,
you're
for
doing it in a
sure.
a helpful, friendly way. And I love that. I mean, I've heard of the, obviously, a lot of folks we work with have done Facebook groups, but that's such a great idea. And you're talking about focusing on something that you're passionate about, outside of real estate, but having to do with your local community. So
Yeah,
I love
think
that.
about this, our hockey team, we're part of a big organization, we're a rep hockey team, but they've got a lot of different teams that are playing rep at different ages.
Mhm.
So they've got an Instagram account. So now I'm at the hockey rink with my guys, with my team, and I video them, let's say, hitting the ice to start the game or something, and I throw up a quick story and I put up some music and I tag the club.
Yeah.
Well, the club goes ahead and reshares it in their stories. So now I'm building mindshare with my club because they're going, we like this guy. He supports us, right? Because we're all Fawn Panthers, right? He supports us. I'm building mindshare with a whole audience who I don't even know who they are because the club is reposting. And I'm on site at the rink. So there's a parlay right there that for some people, it could be I saw them online and all of a sudden met them at the rink, or vice versa. Again, we're leveraging commonalities. None of this costs me money. None of this is about business. It's just about getting people to know who we are, because the more they like you, the more they will be open to asking you what you do for a living. And then from there, they'll keep it top of mind because they already like you. You didn't come from a sales perspective and try to earn their friendship. You came from a friendship perspective, tried to earn their trust, relationship.
And if you do it right, people will be naturally curious. They'll say,
Yeah,
what do you do again? Like,
they'll want to make conversation.
exactly. And that's where I think that there's a huge opportunity. I think a lot of times we talk about things like different ideas like you're talking about. And sometimes we hear, agents say, well, how's that going to bring me business? And I love what you said, how it really starts with just, coming from a place of being human, having those conversations and just meeting people and being helpful, and it's amazing what comes back to you, whether you call it karma or whatever, like things come back, and especially when you're not the smarmy salesperson, like you
You know
said.
what? But that's the thing, though. Like so many people think like, and I've asked this question a lot of times to people, especially people that give back to the community. I'm like, okay, I got to ask you straight up. Like, why do you do it? Like, what kind of business do you see back from it? What about this whole thing about time? What would you say to the people who are like, but I just don't have the time for that stuff, right?
Yeah.
And anybody who gives back will always tell you that it's the most amazing feeling in the world to just again give and help.
Yeah.
Now,
Absolutely.
to anybody that hears that, the one thing that we gotta really understand, and we've all heard the line, right? Give and you shall receive, right? But I'm going to tell you straight: do not give with the expectation to receive. Give to give. Be genuine about giving, and that could be putting out content, that could be connecting people, that could be anything. Just give. Make conversation. Because again, know you, like you, trust you. The old cliche in our business, right?
Yeah.
Yes, they can know you, but do they know you as a salesperson where they're going to run and hide? Or do they know you and like you as a human being? Because when you have that, you get closer to the trust. And when you want the business, you need the trust. So we've got to establish the foundation before we start going for that. And I mean, again, here, this other thing, we're in this business, let's call real estate, it's a long game.
Yeah.
And if I asked any realtor right now and I said, hey, have you got an investment that I could put money into today that I want to make $1 million on it? And they're thinking, I'm like, but I want the money tomorrow. Most people look at you and be like, no, man, real estate doesn't work like that. So why do you believe that your relationships do?
Yeah.
Why, just because you met somebody today, should that turn into a deal tomorrow? And I don't care if it's an online lead, a door knock, a cold call, whatever it is, it doesn't just happen tomorrow. This is a long game.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing about the online offline that I just want to throw out there to everybody as well, just to kind of, wrap that one too. We just talked about audience, right? When we said about like you've got two audiences and number one is your contact list. Okay. So we've got this contact list in our CRM and we've got like all of our key people and their past clients and, COIs. A lot of times people forget to go to their Facebook list and stripe that Facebook list against their contact list and go, who do I have on Facebook that should be on my list? Now, the reality is who should be on your list here. Again, I like to be blunt, but if it would piss you off, if that person you thought about went and worked with somebody else, then they should be on your list, period. Because if they're not on your list, you can't get pissed off. I mean, you can, but you can't get pissed off at them, right? You got to be pissed off at yourself. So one of the things we can do now is we can look at that social media. Because I also told you that 200 to 700, even 900 number, right? Sometimes people look and go, but I only got like 200 people. Or some people tell you they're new to the country. Okay, go to your Facebook list. You might have hundreds or thousands of people there. Go look at that list and see, like, who. I'm not saying take all of them and move them on your CRM. But I'm saying, again, look at the list and do the, if it would piss me off, if they weren't, if they didn't do business, they got to be here. Move them over, right?
Plus, isn't that a great opportunity if you take it in chunks and go, okay, I'm going to reach out to 5 people I'm friends with on Facebook who I don't have in my database. Wouldn't that be a great opportunity to reach out privately and say, hey, I love that. I saw that you posted this, or, you make a connection and maybe you say something like, hey, I would love to make sure that I've got your right contact info and I'm looking through my, my notes and what's the best mailing address for you? Or just, it doesn't have to be overly complicated.
No. And the other thing I would recommend is like, don't try to, hit a home run in your first connection, right?
Right,
Like
exactly.
you know the person for some reason. One of you have sent each other a friend request along the way somewhere.
Yeah.
It could be years ago.
Yeah.
But they're there. So the first thing you might want to do is go to their profile, go see what they've been up to.
Yeah.
They just got back from vacation and they're going on vacation, or they just, family activities. get engaged in the conversation.
Mhm.
We know the more that we get engaged in the conversation with somebody, the more the magical algorithms start to serve us up to each other a little bit more. So we start to see each other more mind share,
Yeah.
right? Now that we're seeing each other a little bit more, we're getting a little bit more comfortable in interacting with each other. At some point, we can then do the DM. At some point, we can then say, hey, what's your best email? I want to send you something. That's
Right.
right. And we can continue to sort of like build on that. Again, it doesn't happen overnight.
So, the buzz right now, of course, in real estate is the market and what's happening, the economy in the market and things like that. And I know you talk to hundreds, if not thousands of agents on quite often. What is the advice that you're giving agents for how they can dominate the market as we move into 2023?
Yeah, for sure loaded there. Like the first thing I really want to suggest to everybody is that the mainstream media loves to paint the doom and gloom, right? They've got to have something to talk about. And at this moment in time, it's very much about rates and it's very much about, the market's coming down and then some of them is like crash and bubble and this and that. But what ends up happening though is if we don't as an industry combat that narrative with positivity, with reality, then what ends up happening is that's what becomes reality for your homeowners, your contacts, the people that know you, like you, and trust you, and everybody else. And so one of the things that I think that really needs to happen is as we leverage these ways to communicate, especially the phone calls and the check-ins to say hello. And again, you don't want to make these conversations all about real estate every time you do it. However, there is a moment where you can do that, where you can ask people, hey, have you been paying attention to the news? Yeah, I have. Have you been noticing the, sort of the narrative around the real estate market? Yes, I have. Do you have any questions? And typically speaking, people will ask, because again, if they own a home, they have some sort of interest.
Mhm.
Now what happens, you got to listen to what people are saying.
Yeah.
You've got to learn from what they're saying. And I'll say on a sidebar note, that is what gives you just like a wealth of content to be able to put out there, because now you could take all the questions that people are asking you. And I know you love this one. You can take people like questions that people are asking you and like feed it back to your audience, right?
Yeah.
You could do it through video, reels, posts, blogs, vlogs, podcasts, emails, what post on your website. Like there's like a lot of different ways to spin that.
Mhm.
So, when you make your phone call, you're going to learn a lot from your clients, then be able to feed that back. Now, what are we feeding back? My recommendation to everybody is positivity. Again, reality.
Right.
Explaining to people where there may be opportunities in this industry, right? Or in this business, this market right now. And
Mhm.
being able to have that actual good dialogue with somebody. Because again, the mainstream is painting it one way. We come in from the other way and we kind of go, hey, let me give you the realities of what that really means.
Right.
Right. Like I don't know if it's the same way there, like south of the border, but I know up here, one of the concerns with the raising interest rates is like, what's my monthly cost going to look like?
Mhm.
And the best part about it is everybody thinks that their monthly cost is going to go up, and that's a natural thought. Well, one thing we know is that what's actually happening is the banks are just extending the amortization period, and they're
Mhm.
keeping basically the payment the same, right? So you got to dissect that and kind of go, oh, so I can afford the payment.
Right.
Maybe I will look at that property. Well, hey, if we didn't have that conversation to explain that stuff, that may have never happened.
Right.
So as we double down on this, we say, make your phone calls, ask the questions, see what people are doing, and educate them, right? So it's communication, it's education, and be positive. And look, this is a message that I'm really trying to hit home with like everybody in this industry right now is take those opportunities to do that, because as much as you think it may be doom and gloom, that probably means that all you're doing is listening to the mainstream and you're not actually taking the bull by the horns and going, what can I do to combat this? Because at the end of the day, this is your livelihood,
And I love,
right?
just like you said, just picking up the phone and calling people. I mean, I know
It's so
back in
important.
2020 when, everything was happening with COVID, that's one of the things that so many agents I think did really well. They just picked up the phone or human and said, hey, I'm just checking in. How are you doing? And I think it's the same thing now. It's just being human, connecting, reaching out and like you said, they're going to have questions, and you were right. I always say, write those questions down because then that could be
That's it,
content
right?
for So
You
yeah,
know,
just
but I'll tell you, like that's one of the things we do, and sort of on the bigger scale for everybody. The one thing, obviously, at this time of the year, what I'm about to say, set those goals,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I want everybody to understand right now, for anybody that just rolled eyes about setting goals, I want you to know that was me a number of years ago. Like I was that guy. Okay. I was the guy in the audience who was like, just want to make $1 bajillion. Like, let's go. Can we get on with this? They're like, okay, write that down. You're like, how many zeros does that have? And then you
Right.
realize to yourself, you're like, dude, get serious, right?
Yeah.
And that still took time as well. Again, we'll sort of bottle the conversation around goals up into a little one, because this could go on for a while in terms of strategy. But what I would say to everybody is take a pen, I don't care if it's a napkin or a scrap piece of paper, just write down what you want in life. Okay. And then do not put barriers on what you can achieve. Because I remind every single person right now, we people, human beings, have been on the moon. Anything you want to do is possible. Anything.
True. That's
And if you
true.
don't think it's possible, I'm going to give you one more. I'm going to encourage everybody to go watch a movie called Free Solo. I don't know if you've seen it.
I haven't yet.
A guy by the name of Alex Honnold. I'm just going to leave it at that and say, if you've got any lack of belief and understand that mindset is everything, go watch that movie. For 90 minutes, I paced back and forth in my living room with like my stomach and my throat, kind of going, oh my God. And then at the end, you're like,
That's
anyways, I'm
awesome.
not giving it away. I'm just saying,
That's
go
awesome. That's
do it. Like,
awesome.
again,
All
right? When we
right.
talk about belief, but like
I'll put it
writing
on the
down your
list.
goals. Look, your goal is the address. Once you figure out the goal, quantify the goal, then map it into your calendar, because your calendar is your GPS, how to get to the address.
Oh, I like that. That's like a tweetable right there.
Yeah, but like when you start doing it, and this is what I say, like I was that guy years ago.
Yeah.
When I started doing it and you start to see things come to life, it's like, whoa, why didn't I do this 10 years ago, right?
Yeah.
20 years ago. You know what I mean?
Well, it comes back to what you said in the beginning, just and what we're kind of focusing on for this conversation is just being mindful. If you don't write down your goals, you don't dream big, you don't write down what do you want to accomplish. And I love that you always talk about not just business, but life, because that's what it's all about. Why are we working so hard? We're not working a million hours a week or, doing all this stuff for nothing. Like it's probably why you and I have resonated so much over the years. It's about what's important to you and quality of life. And like you said, having some sort of balance and boundaries and all that good stuff. So write it down. I love that advice. It's, for those of you watching, watching this when it first comes out, this is one of our last episodes of the year. So don't wait till January. Don't wait till February. Like start now. Right.
Most people wait, right? Like
Yeah.
most people don't do anything.
Yeah.
Some people buy a Peloton.
Right.
Had to.
Right.
My encouragement to everybody is don't be most people. Right? Everybody wants something in life. Everybody wants a lot of some things. Everybody wants to achieve. Everybody has aspirations. The difference between most people and the people that actually have are because the ones that have write it down and then they map out how they're going to do it. And then they live their day by day by day accomplishing it. And I'm going to tell everybody very clearly right now, for me, the top of my day, like the morning time, first hours in the morning, are for my kids and my wife. The last hours of my day are for my kids and my wife. Because at the end of the day, and I'm talking decades down the road, when somebody finally says to you, as you look back on life, what do you wish you did? I think most people answer that with, I wish I spent more time with my loved ones. We as a North American society focus so much time and effort on working. We focus so much time on effort on scrolling social media. We focus a lot of time in places that don't really matter to us, only because of, again, the world we live in and the way society works these days. When you mark down your goals, when you map out your days, when you leverage time and you empower time to manage you, because you can't manage time, right? Because I can stop my watch, it just keeps going. When you empower time to manage you, you can get it all done. And again, keep in mind what the most important aspects of your life really, really are.
That's such good advice. I love that. So I know we could probably talk for another couple hours about all this.
You and me? Nah.
I know, right? Is there anything that I didn't ask you or anything else that you want to share? I mean,
you see, you said we could talk for hours. If you do that, we're going to just go. No, I mean, you know what? I think again, the big message to everybody though right now is pretty much what we just talked about in terms of like, it's time to plan, right? With our coaching clients right now, we are going through with every single person. And my goal, and I've been very, very, very forward with them about this, is that I want them to be able to start January 1st on December 1st. So somebody said, hey, We just flipped the switch. It is January 1st, 2023. I want you ready because
Yeah.
we know December comes by fast. We know lots goes on. We know we get distracted with, holiday get-togethers and family and all the stuff that really matters that we enjoy and we should.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, what happens is the planning starts to fall and fall and fall. And the next thing you know, you got the holiday hangover in the first week of the new year and you still haven't done it.
Yeah.
Then it's mid-January and you think you're behind. So you just don't do it. And then the next year passes by. So again, my big message to everybody right now, figure out what you want in life. Okay. Write it down. Understand that's your address. Leverage your calendar to map it, be your navigation and execute every single day. Part of that execution, of course, get out there and build mindshare because it equals market share.
Absolutely. Now, I know you have a great free resource on your site because I'm sure there's people listening that's going, okay, I got to get a handle on everything David's talking about. So tell people a little bit about that. I know it's
yeah.
your website, how people can access that.
So the website itself is mindshare101.com. You'll find a ton of resources on there. There's all sorts of it'll share obviously a lot more about what we do, but you will find the access to the podcast is there, the Mindshare podcast. You'll find access to a lot of our videos that we do on a regular, which all that stuff is just like right there for you. Just go grab it. There's also a resource, which you were just mentioning there on the homepage called the Ultimate Marketing Bundle. It is totally free. I want everybody to know that right now. It is completely free. It's a 31-page ebook. It's packed. It's got a 90-day social media content calendar. It's packed with tips and tricks for sales and marketing. And it breaks down not only your two audiences, but your 7 different ways to communicate, what they are, how to use them, and why you should be using them. So I really recommend everybody because I guess on that final note, when it comes to marketing, it's like, don't just leverage one channel. Okay. So let's say just social media. Right. Have a support mechanism around that, right? To those people that like the old school, like I'm going to flyer a neighborhood. Cool. Get out and door knock, do sponsorships in the community, like recognize that the support. So what I want you to do with the Ultimate Marketing Bundle is just have it there. And every time you think to yourself, I'm about to embark on this new marketing tactic, figure out how it fits into your strategy and ask yourself, that's one channel. Am I using the other 6 channels or at least 2 or 3 other of those channels to support this one? Does that make sense, Katie?
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? It's just, it's like a reference point, right? Because how often do people do that where they just go do something without what else is going to bring that to life? I mean, here, sign up for online lead generation. They're going to send me leads. Great. But do you have a conversion process? Do you know the other tools you need? And again, this book will help everybody with that. So mindshare101.com, they can get everything.
mindshare101.com. We will put that in the show notes below as well. I definitely would encourage you to do that. I love that you have that as a resource because I cannot tell you how many agents reach out to me and they say things like, I just spent X number of dollars on this. I just spent something on this program. But then they don't know how to incorporate it into their marketing. I'm like, well, how does this fit into your overall goal? And then but by then it's too late. They've already spent 5,000 or 10,000 or whatever it might be on something that they thought was good and it might be good, but if it doesn't fit into the whole plan, strategy, I mean, you're speaking our language.
But this is back to one of the questions you asked before, right? Like how do we do that if we're not McDonald's? Well, again, figure out your budget, figure out what's real. And if you top out at $500 or $100, nothing wrong with that. Stop looking at everybody else, blinders on, headphones on, stay in your lane.
I love
grow. That. As you grow, we can increase, but there's no reason to start up high and then have to take things away because we can't afford anymore. That's why people are getting out of the business.
I would also encourage our audience to follow you on Instagram. And I'm looking at your Instagram. It's David Greenspan 101. You are always popping up on my feed, always, which is a good sign. No, I love it. You share so much great content. I know you have a podcast. You have some really helpful information. You're a great speaker for anyone listening, booking your events for 2023 and you're looking for a great speaker, reach out to David. He's the real deal. You guys know the folks we have on the podcast. I just a big believer in trying to elevate people who are doing great work. And you're doing great work, my friend.
It's been an honor to be on this podcast with you today, Katie. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And keep doing everything you're doing out there, because much the same, you pop up all the time. I cannot tell you and tell everybody. And I know for those of you that know Katie, like how much I've learned from you over the years. And I'm super, super grateful for everything that we see on the front end. And of course, everything you and I get to, hammer out on the back end together. You've been absolutely, absolutely amazing. And like I said, I thank you very much for having me on today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. My pleasure. So for everyone listening today, if you're watching this over on YouTube, if you enjoyed this, we would love if you hit the subscribe button and the bell button and the like button. You know how it works. If you're listening on a podcast and you enjoy it, the best thing you can do is give us a 5-star review. Those actually do make a big difference. We appreciate that. And if anything, share this out. Tag David, tag me. We would absolutely love to hear your feedback. So thank you to everyone listening. And David, thank you again. This has been so much fun.
Thank you, Katie.
All right, everyone. We'll see you next time. Get planning, and we'll see you next time on the podcast. Take care.